Fall is in the air, and it's getting a little cold. That means it's your last chance to spend some time with the ghoulish monsters of Haunt. Hello, everybody. Alongside Don Helbig, I'm Ryan Sir, and this is Tower Topics.
Tower Topics is a podcast by Kings Island fans for Kings Island fans because that's who we are and that's who we care about.
Yeah, does this season go faster every year or what?
It seems like it does. This year you get a little, one extra weekend of Halloween Haunt and Tricks and Treats with the uh, operating calendar extended into that first weekend into November. But it always does kind of fly by. It seems like it opens that first weekend or two, and then after that it's like, oh, we're at the end, really quick. It's been by all accounts it's been a good Halloween Haunt. The guests seem to really enjoy it. Tricks and Treats, is an underrated event. Great for families. So it's always sad to kind of see it come to an end. But not just those events, but it's also the last chance of the year to get in your rides on the Beast. Uh, some of your other favorite coasters there, like Banshee and Diamondback, Orion, Backlot Stunt Coaster, Adventure Express. So those rides. I'll take that long winter's nap. After this weekend.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, and it's funny because we had this exact same conversation at the end of daily operations where I really feel like the season opens, and it's partially true and not just perspective that
Mm-hmm.
daily operations creeps up on you real quick nowadays because it used to be right around Memorial Day, maybe a little bit before in the modern era, and then about 10 years ago when you were still at the park, it was almost like the first two weekends, and then that Wednesday or something they go daily, and that goes quickly, and then as soon as you kind of get used to the park being open, it's like, oh, 8 o'clock close starts next week. Now, with that being said, 8 o'clock close seems like it comes earlier every year, which, it's because of school schedules and so on. But, um, with Halloween Haunt, it's I feel like it just opened. And here we are. Now we have a bonus weekend. Normally, this coming weekend, as of this recording, so the last weekend before Halloween should be the last weekend of Halloween Haunt, but they took off that first weekend of Winterfest and they added it to the Haunt schedule. So now that first weekend of November is now Halloween Haunt without Sunday.
What would you rather have? Would you rather have one extra weekend of Haunt and Tricks and Treats, or would you rather Winterfest opened a week earlier?
I'd rather have an extra weekend of Haunt and Tricks or Treats. It's funny because we addressed that question when we talked about how there really wasn't an extra operating weekend, and it seems like there's some people. There's a small group of about 20% that said Winterfest is my favorite time. I wish we had more Winterfest, but the vast majority said I'd prefer Haunt because all the rides are open and the parks open later and stuff. I kind of go into the camp of Haunt a little bit. Um, for me, it's like the leading up to Christmas when you have that excitement for Christmas with Winterfest, I think is super exciting. Um, and it starts like once Christmas hits, and I don't know if it's the fact that the holiday's already over or if it's the fact that, I've probably visited 6 times by then, but it really just kind of starts to feel like drab and cold and lonely during Winterfest. Like I don't know if I'm alone in this or not. Leave a comment and let me know I'm not crazy. But it used to be that, especially around like 8 o'clock, people, because people always seem to leave 2 hours before the park closes, whether they close at midnight or 10 or whatever. But the park starts to empty out. It's freezing. It's kind of quiet, and it's just the most depressing thing ever. Fortunately, now they have the parade, which rejuvenates everything at like 9 o'clock at night. So it's not always like that. But yeah, I feel like I can get Winterfest out a lot quicker than I can get Halloween Haunted out. Um, but I do see both sides of it. Let's put it that way.
So you're going to be there this weekend, one of those final 3 days?
Yeah, I'll probably come and enjoy the park on Friday and or Saturday and, see Haunt for one last time.
Yeah, I need one more dining plan. Use it one more time for 50 meals on the season. So I visited 30 times, had 49 meals so far. So I really got great value out of the dining plan. Highly recommend that if you're on the fence about getting the dining plan. The drink plan has been tremendous value there too. So I'm at an even 100 drinks that I got with that. So I'm a numbers guy. So that to be able to get that 50th then would be kind of nice to be able to come back and get that by the end of the Halloween season. But if not, there's always Winterfest, right? To be able to use the dining plan there. Not as many options maybe as you might see at this time of the year, but would still be doable to use that dining plan that one more time to get that 50th on the board.
See, I did, are you saying that the dining plan would be less options or the drink plan would
Well,
have less
for Winterfest, there's not as much. Sometimes that with what is on the dining plan and what is not, um, because some of the stuff just isn't as available as it is during the summer months and the fall.
I agree. I think statistically you're probably right, but I think the trade-off being that you get new foods and in a lot of cases better foods is a huge trade-off because you haven't had a Winterfest dining plan yet. So there's a meatloaf. Uh,
Really, where's that at?
it's at the brew house. Let me try to look up the menu real quick. I don't
Okay, you
because
had me at meatloaf. You had me at meatloaf. Okay,
uh I
is
hate
that
typing during the show, but it's a meatloaf sandwich. And I'm gonna try to look at last year's thing. But that is one of my favorite items. It's actually kind of okay. It's a holiday meatloaf burger. Now, at the time of this recording, the menu for 2024's Winterfest has not been released, so we're not guaranteeing that this is coming back. But this is what's available in Blitzen's Brew House. It's a holiday meatloaf burger, King's Island's blend of meats and seasoning, grilled, topped with Munster cheese, spicy sweet ketchup, and bacon jam on a potato bun. Fantastic. They have a fried bologna Sammy sandwich. Enjoy thick cut Leona bologna grilled on a toasted sourdough, red onions, pickle, mustard sauce, and turducken empanadas, which I don't think is on the meal plan, but turkey, chicken, and duck blended in our secret KI seasoning and cheese, wrapped in a flaky dough and fried. Served
those
with
first two
cranberry.
though were on the dining plan, right?
The first two last year were on the dining plan. So
Okay.
I love that meatloaf burger. I know like Aaron doesn't like it very much. I love it.
What did the
Um,
brew house? I mean, what did Coney Barbecue have on the dining plan?
Smokehouse Christmas had the Christmas platter, one entree and one side. So it's revolving, but from my recollection, one of the items that they had was this like spicy sausage, which was fantastic. It was like a long sausage thing, and they also had fried shrimp, which was very very good.
Fried shrimp.
Yep, Bubba Gump will be proud.
Okay.
Uh,
Now, circling back to Haunt and Tricks and Treats, did you have any favorite food items?
at well for tricks and okay for Haunt, I want to give a shout out to the Sweet Spot because they brought back my witch's brew cookie, which is my favorite thing ever. So I did eat that maybe 3 times, trying to not do that so much, but the temptation is so there. I had that, loved it. um and then
There were so
the
many good things there at the Sweet Spot, though.
the
We've all
trick or
been there.
treat brownie, that was the other thing. It was a brownie and it had just random pieces of candy stuck to it, which I really really enjoyed. Now I know that sometimes I'll get a brownie there and it'll be kind of dry. But the last several times I have, they've like had an item for display, but then they turn around and they get it from behind them, like on the like racks of food. So I think they're serving fresher stuff now because this was definitely like soft and delicious. The sliders that are in the KI food
Food
truck.
food
Ooh,
truck, yes, I was going to mention that
mm.
that's really good.
Now, friend of the show, Daniel Glosser, he was talking about Halloween Haunt, and he kept on texting me, and he because Corner did not open with the park. There was a water main break, and it closed that whole side of Action Zone. and he's texting me 2 weeks into it, and he's like, "Cornered is the best maze ever." And I'm like, "You need to pull over if you're driving right now, dude, because they've done Cornered for 15 years and it's been the same thing." And he's like, "No, no, no, it's got a storyline now, and it's like it's awesome." And I'm like, "Whatever." So I kind of forgot about it. And then last week we were at the park, and it was like it was Friday, they weren't that busy, and we're like, "Let's do a maze. Why not?" It's like, Glosser said that that Cornered is like really good this year. Let's see if it's different or if he's lying to me. We went through, and it was funny because for the first, this is what I told him. I was like, for the first 25%, I was like, this man is out of his mind because it's corn, corn, corn. Then it hits the story part where you actually enter the Kings Island greenhouse, and it's I guess the plants come to life. He explained to me that somehow he got his hands on the story that you took a hallucinogenic or something, or you were exposed to a hallucinogenic, and you think the plants are coming after you. But they've got like the like Little Shop of Horrors kind of plants, like the Krellboyne and all that. And they have a guy that's splattered against the wall, and the lawnmower had attacked him and stuff. So I wanted to give a shout out to Cornered, because I don't know how many people didn't do Cornered thinking that they had done it before in the past 15 years. But the truth is they have kind of a new experience, which that lends to the question I want to ask you, Don. And you can't speak on their behalf, but if you were going to do that and you were going to change the story, why wouldn't you just not make it Cornered? Give it a new name and call it a new maze.
I think that if something's been around for a long time and they've moved it from, different spots around the park and that too, but if it was just kind of that, so nobody was really raving about it type of thing, yeah, I would certainly change the name if you're changing this, the story within the
Yeah.
maze, the backstory to it. Yeah, you'd want to kind of rebrand it and give it a different name and let guests know it's different. It's not the Cornage you did 12 years ago.
Yeah, well, and it's not like it's a legacy thing because it's only been Cornered for a few years. Before that, it was Field of Screams, and before that, it was Cornstalkers, and Cornstalkers moved around more than an army kid.
Yeah.
And so that's been the big mystery of Haunt this year, especially because we came in with, I think, justifyingly negative attitudes of like, oh, a new scare zone, yay. But there's a lot that was new.
Yeah, but that's the thing, Ryan, that you look at the entertainment team there. They've done a great job with this event, but nobody knows about it unless you go through and you experience it. Like, you took Daniel Glosser to get you to go through Cornered in that, but there just wasn't again this year. Where's the storytelling? Promoting these individual mazes and that. We saw some posts in that about Hooked, but it just said Hooked new scare zone, buy a season pass or buy tickets or something. Nothing really about it. But you got a blog, you've got YouTube. Why aren't you doing more stuff to let people know about these things and how good they are? Because what we're hearing, you're telling me about Cornered. I've had other people tell me about some other mazes and that they're really good, but nobody knows because the park is not doing a lot through their own and shared channels to promote these things other than just by name only type of a thing, and just trying to push season pass and tickets instead of doing a good job of storytelling about what Halloween Haunt consists of, what you're going to experience when you're there. So I'm glad you talked about Corner, but now you've got me wanting to go and experience this because it just sounds like that's going to be pretty cool. I've not experienced that before.
Yeah, it's to me, I honestly, it's probably a timing thing because kind of like the area between backlot and the vortex plot. How I think internally somebody put in the comments it's called Serpentine, where it's got the
Yeah.
trees and people in ghillie suits and stuff. Um, and you mentioned that it's probably not on the map or anything because they decided they were going to do it after the map had to be finalized.
But you can
Um,
still talk about it.
you can, but I'm wondering if they were like, all right, we're going to do Cornered again, guys. Order some corn, and then it's like, oh wait, no, we actually do have a little bit of a budget to do something different. And but you're right. It's like, why not call it Cornered 2? Like I feel like you could do that, and you wouldn't even have to change all the materials. You know, I mean, heck, they still have Camp Snoopy opening this spring on every single sign in the park. So having cornered instead of corner two, if you want to try to convey that message, probably isn't the biggest movie sin that you're going to have that day.
Yeah, and I'm
You
like I
know?
said, I'm. It really has been a good haunt by all accounts. From the different people that I've spoken to that have gone to the event, what I'm seeing on social media, talking to you, talking to Daniel Glosser. I mean, everybody has really enjoyed the event this year.
Yeah, and like you go down the list, and you got Madame Fatales, which is identical at night. I have not gotten to do the day thing. I've heard from a lot of people that the daytime thing, especially with the lanterns, is really, really cool. Although, fun fact, you pointed this out when you sent me a picture of this, about 50 other people did. The sign for a while said you can use the lantern at night, but you cannot use the lantern at night. But the lantern interaction thing is really, really cool from all accounts I've heard in Madame Fatales. Um, the Alien X thing, not Chaos, Alien Abyss, I think it's called now. Um, that one, I feel like was a solid 6.5, 7 out of 10 from the beginning. It hasn't really changed, but I feel like if the little attention was put on that, then that maze could be, Busch Gardens quality, something like that, because that's a really good idea, really good stuff, a really good space. The problem is they have 15% of the maze is in complete darkness, which is such a cop out. It's stupid. You got Cornered, which we already discussed, which is a huge improvement over the corn. If I wanted to see a bunch of corn and then come out to a roller coaster, I'd just go to Stricker's Grove. All right. That's how I feel about going there. And what are the other ones?
You've got Hotel Saint Michelle.
Hotel Saint Michelle. Yeah, that's always a really good one. I wish that instead of doing the short film, they would have made a backstory for Hotel Saint Michelle, something that made sense, like something serious. They didn't try
I
to make it
agree,
funny or anything like that. I think that would have been really cool, because I feel like you could have squeezed another year out of that.
and that would have
Um,
sold tickets.
I think so too. And
Slaughterhouse.
yeah, Slaughterhouse is one of those that hasn't changed in what, a decade now, and I don't think anybody's really complaining because it's pretty good the way it is. I wish they
That
would
one's
bring.
always excellent.
Yeah, I got a
Killmart.
question. Killmart, again, it's a play on Kmart. Nobody understands that reference because Kmart's been gone too long now. Apparently, they closed the last full size Kmart in Miami last week, by the way. So, time to get a new Kmart. But with that being said, Kmart is and was a good idea, and it is and was a very good maze. It's just been around for a long time, you know. But Nightwalkers, let's give them a shout out. Like, it's the first year was fantastic. The second year I saw it once and I was like, they ruined it. And then this year, again, not as good as the first year, but still, like, I've seen it multiple times, and it's like an exciting show, and it's fun, and it's got its moments and stuff. And I mean, some I was hanging out with a group of friends, and we decided to leave the park, uh not exactly close, a few hours before close, but they were like, I'll catch up with you guys later. I really want to watch Nightwalkers.
Yeah, you watch that show, you're going to be thoroughly entertained.
I love that show. I really do. I'm glad we have it instead of Haunted Homecoming. I think that was awful. But Hot Blooded, Dead Awakening, all that stuff. That would be a better choice. But if this is the choice we have, I'm very happy with it. I'd recommend it to anybody. Haven't seen Ghouls Gone Wild, but you did, right?
I did see it. Very well done. I pretty much the same songs and same show that was there, previously years ago, but a better job of the makeup, the
Yeah.
costumes much better. But that's a can't miss show if you're going to Halloween Haunt. They have a daytime version, during Tricks and Treats.
Yeah.
But yeah, for Haunt, definitely, you have to check it out. And one of the better Halloween shows that I've seen.
Yeah, I do not have a problem with them pulling a show out of the vault and bringing it back the way it was. I think that because it's not like when it's the same show over and over and over again, that just I know this isn't the case, but it kind of feels cheap. It feels lazy and stuff. I know it has everything to do with money. But when you take a show that you haven't seen in 10 or 15 years, very few people are going to be like, I've already seen that, especially for the demographic they're shooting for. That was like 12 when that show closed, you
Yeah,
know?
definitely check it out though. If you've not seen Ghouls Gone Wild, make it a point to see it, one of the final days that it's gonna run.
Yeah. The lanterns interact with the show from what I understand. They do not interact with Nightwalkers, but they do interact with, I'm almost said daywalkers. They
Yeah.
do interact with Ghouls Gone Wild. But yeah, I think Cornered is a sleeper hit. I would recommend it. You got to check out, as of this recording, you got one more weekend, that first weekend in November, Friday and Saturday Haunt, Saturday and Sunday Tricks and Treats. So yeah, we'll be right back with your stories. All right. All right. Today's story comes from Amber D from Springboro, Ohio. She said, I'm originally from North Central West Virginia. We visited Kennywood once a summer because it was the closest park. Otherwise, parks were a family vacation event. My parents took our family to Geauga Lake, SeaWorld, Disney, Universal, Carowinds, Dollywood, Busch Gardens, Florida, and Virginia. Virginia's the better of the two. A couple Six Flags and Holiday World over the years. And your parents took you to way more parks than my parents ever did. I have many amazing memories of my mom, dad, siblings, and grandparents from these trips. I was simply having fun as a kid, but now I am realizing that my park memories are more vivid than most other summer or vacation memories. I was turning 12 when we first visited Kings Island, and the Vortex was my first coaster that went upside down. My youngest sibling was 4 at the time. I was just starting to really enjoy more thrill rides, but I gladly toted my younger sibling along to the Nickelodeon area. This made my parents happy, so everyone was happy. When we visited KI a couple times, we visited KI a couple times because we always had a great experience. I graduated from high school in 2000 and soon after took my first road trip without my parents. I set off with my brother to first visit Kings Island for Son of Beast. How'd that go for you? Followed by Cedar Point's Millennium Force, which before I moved away to college. We did manage to catch Son of Beast on a decent day of operation. Hey, she answered my question. It's my first listener question. I met my now husband in our first trip as a couple was a weekend at Kings Island. We thoroughly enjoyed the park together, and this certainly helped establish him as a keeper. We ended up moving to the Warren County area after we were married. He joked that my first Kings Island season pass was of equal, if not more, importance to our marriage certificate. Fact check true. We now have a son, but getting him on the kiddie rides took some convincing at first. One day, he noticed a train pulling out of the Woodstock Express. He insisted on riding the train. I tried to explain that this is not like other train rides that he enjoyed, but he was persistent. We weren't having a great day because he would not stop whining about wanting to ride the train. I decided to be a jerk of a parent and concede, only planning to give myself an opportunity to say, I told you so. While not my finest parenting moment, my plan backfired and we rode the Woodstock Express 14 times in a row. I had never seen him smile so big or have so much fun. He made it to 48 inches tall that summer, and the next fall fell in love with the racer, quickly followed by Mystic Timbers. He's now 7 and 51 inches tall. He eats all of the healthy vegetables because I tell him that it will help him grow tall enough to ride Orion. When we aren't at the park, he watches YouTube for park history, rider POVs, and tower topics. Thanks for watching. He was mesmerized when you mentioned that other parks close to Cincinnati. He now wants to plan our family vacations around Kentucky Kingdom, Holiday World, Dollywood, Cedar Point, Kings Dominion for the next few years. I can't wait to share a similar tradition that I enjoyed as a child. Since we attended KI so often, I know visiting other parks will create lasting memories for all of us. I can only hope that one day he will look back with the same appreciation that I have. A day at the park is always as much more than just the sum of its rides. Should put another note. Despite your Columbus Day weekend warnings, we attended that Saturday. It was definitely crazy, and we left around 3. I hate to say I told you so. And the line to get my brew house took forever. Thanks for that suggestion, by the way. I haven't tried it until after your discussion about dining ideas. We had 3 cars fighting to take our parking spot when we left. However, my son declared that it was the most epic day at Kings Island ever. Even though it was packed, all of the costumes and overall energy in the park was different than any other visit we'd ever made. We've attended KI around 50 times for the season, but that visit will stand out for a lifetime. It's funny. Sometimes it's the small stuff that people remember, but that's a fantastic story. That's really moving,
It's a
Amber.
great story. Love the fact that there's a little diversity there, and it's not, just focused on Kings Island. That you know they want to go to other parks, and that really adds to those memories when you can do that, and you can go to the Holiday Worlds, the Dollywoods, King's Dominion, Kentucky Kingdom, some of the other parks, to get a little diversity in there, because every park's a little bit different. And I love the story about Woodstock Express, riding that 14 times. I have similar kind of memories with my daughter, where once she started getting in the coasters, that we spent a lot of time riding, that coaster and over again. And so, yeah, I mean, there's nothing like it when you have, a child that is getting into it and loving it as much as you do. And you remember, I mean, just the memories that you get from that.
I never had that ride that I had to do over and over again. I know Woodstock Express is a common one, and Viking Fury is another one that little kids would just want to do over and over again. I never had that. I don't really know why. Because the way that I got into this was we were an Americana slash Swordsville Lake family growing up, and I didn't ever ride the Screeching Eagle until 2002, when it was briefly reopened for a hot minute. But as a kid, I finally got myself to ride the Serpent, which is like a galaxy coaster.
Mhm.
In today's where it's was like the Pepsi Python at Coney Island and stuff. But I remember being fine with it, but being cool, like, hey, I've done that now. I know that they had their Little Dipper, which is kind of similar to Great Pumpkin Coaster. And I'm sure I rode that a lot, but I don't ever remember like cycling it, like getting back in line over and over again. But I was never afraid of any ride that didn't go upside down. That was my big hang up. And then in, I think 92 or 93, I think it was 92, I made my first visit to Kings Island. And we rode, everything except for the upside down stuff. And to end the night, I dared myself to do the racer. So I rode the backward racer. And, that was fine. Like I enjoyed it. I remember thinking it was unsafe because I felt that floater airtime and like the backward racer used to give. And then I remember my sister and I both got troll dolls as souvenirs because trolls were popular at the time. This is the first time trolls were popular, not the movie Trolls. And I named it Racer. And then when I made my set, because we were a once a year family, and for my second year, I got myself to go on King Cobra. So after doing that inversion, I was like, okay, that's not that big of a deal. Now, adult Ryan would think like standing up is scarier than sitting down, no matter how many times how many times you go upside down. But I didn't think that way. And then I remember visiting, I think it was on PNG Day with a friend of mine whose parents worked for that company. We kind of dared each other to get on the Beast and the Vortex and all that stuff. So that's what transitioned me in. But yeah, it's funny that kids, they don't want to ride something, then they want to ride it, and then once they ride it, like that's it. That's what they want to do from here on out.
Get fixated on it, yes.
The most fun thing ever, my friend Noah from such hits as the interactive lantern video that we did, he is slowly getting to that age where every few weeks he can kind of like get on a new ride. He recently just hit the mark for Banshee. It was Banshee and a couple of other things, and that's all he wants to do. Like his bravery is insane, you know. But yeah, fantastic story. Thanks for sharing it with us. Don, if somebody else has their own story, how can they send it to us?
Well, if you want to email me at donhelbig@themeparksbydon.com, make sure in the subject line you put story for TT. So we want to make sure that that gets separated that way. And just share your story. If you got photos, you can attach those photos, and we'll drop those in as well. But we love hearing everyone's Kings Island stories. Ryan and I, kind of grown up at the park. We love it, but we love, hearing what everybody else thinks and feels about the park as well.
Yeah. So thank you so much. And we hope to hear your stories as well. Hey, Don, it's getting cold out there. What
It's
would you
getting
do to
very
stay warm?
well. It is now available, and we're talking about Tower Topics full zip hooded sweatshirts. These come in an ash gray color. It has the Tower Topics logo on the chest and a big logo on the back. They're $50. That includes shipping. It's a great sweatshirt. Again, zip up, and you place your order. You get this in just a matter of days. We'll send you the QR code. You can reach out to us through our X, which is Tower_Topics. Just send us a message, and we'll get you that QR code that way. Or you can email me. Again, it's Don Helbig at themeparksbydon.com, and we'll get you the code that way. And I think you'll love this shirt. Very, very comfortable.
Yeah, it looks great. So congrats to Mrs. Helbig for printing such an awesome looking shirt. But yeah, we'll be right back with the listener questions. All right, first listener question. This is from Carter P. from Astoria, Ohio. And he said, what are your thoughts on possibly doing a Tower Topics meetup in January or February at Scene 75 in Dayton? I think that would be a lot of fun. Don, have you ever been to
like
Scene
the idea.
75 Dayton? Have you been to the Dayton one?
I have before. I love that idea. Uh, I think it would be, like you said, a lot of fun. It's kind of located in an area where a lot of our regular listeners can get to. We have, it's not super far from Michigan. We have a lot that listen from, Michigan and Northern Ohio, throughout the greater Cincinnati area. So it's a great spot for that. There's a lot to see and do at Scene 75. So I think, Ryan, we need to start planning for that.
We do. I do not know the current ownership group of Scene 75 because the Sandler family sold it to Malibu Jacks, but they're based out of Louisville, so maybe we can give them a shout out and try to get this happening.
Got some
Scene
contacts there. Yeah, I got some contacts at the one at Dayton, so I'll reach out.
Perfect.
I think so. January would be kind of a tough month for me. I do anticipate the Bengals making the playoffs, so I don't know if they'd be playing on Saturdays or Sundays. My daughter, is pregnant, so expecting my first grandchild at some point, toward late January. So that's something for me to look at. But so maybe February would be the better month to do it, Ryan.
I think so too, because I think that's when we did the Entertainment Junction one, if I recall. Because
maybe the Saturday before the Super Bowl.
Isn't that the Pro Bowl nowadays?
Nobody watches that.
I thought you, of all people, would watch it. It is an audience of one.
Nobody watches the Pro Bowl.
Okay, we're not going to go on a tirade about the Pro Bowl. We'll save that. But yeah. So for those of you who Scene 75 is a FEC, a Family Entertainment Center. The one in Dayton is actually a really big success story because it was an old furniture store, I think. They went out of business. Sandler family bought it, turned it into an FEC. So it had the go-karts and the video games and so on. Destroyed by the tornadoes in Dayton a couple years ago, closed for about a year, had a grand reopening, bigger and better than ever. They have both, like, they've got mini golf that's like glow golf, like the indoor, neon paint stuff. And they've got mini golf that's like nice greens and waterways and stuff. That's in addition to inflatables and video games and just virtual reality. Just anything. So Dayton's a really good one. Columbus is another one that's really, really good. But I think that for our audience, we'll probably stick to the Dayton location.
Dayton,
and heck,
get another couple of credits there.
Yeah, there's a spinning coaster. I can't think of who manufactured it, so I'm going to get torn up in the comments. But the one that's always at IAPA, that's there. That's a fantastic ride. Um, and they also have like motion simulators and stuff like that too. So we'll have to see what we can do. I love Scene 75. I love what they do. I love the product they offer. So would not be against that, Carter. So thank you for your question. Next question, CK from Lansing, Michigan. Said, I'm thinking of bringing my family down for Winterfest. Is there enough to see and do to make it worth the drive?
I think there is. What you have to remember, though, it's a short day with the hours. It can be like a 4 to 10 on a Saturday, a 5 to 10 on a, whether it's Friday or Sunday. You can get it, once it goes daily operation, during the week, midway through December, and then after Christmas and that. But it's a short day, so you want to kind of look at what the activities and that are, the shows, and kind of have it planned out what you want to do to make sure you're not missing some of those key things. So, like if you want to do like cookie decorating with Mrs. Claus, that's going to take some time. That can take 30 minutes of your time. If you want to ice skate, that could be
Hours.
30, 45 minutes of your time.
Mhm.
You want to watch Tinker's Toy Factory. Well, if you get in there 15 minutes before the show, it's a half-hour show. That's 45 minutes of your time. So you have to really, kind of plan it in advance. Or you can just walk around, just look at all the lights if that's something you want to do. But if you're interested in seeing shows, you want to ride a couple of rides, you want to eat, some of the meals. We highly recommend that, trying the different food that they have that's holiday themed. You want to go shopping. There's some cool things in the shops. So just make sure you kind of got an idea of what you want to see and do. Then you can make the most of your night, doing it that way. But if you come in and you really don't know and you're trying to figure it all out, that night goes really quick.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was thinking, that's a long drive. So you want to have the full experience. So if you can afford it, like if this is something that you can do, try to do 2 days. Try to do Saturday and Sunday and or Friday and Saturday. Because I feel like I mean, Don mentioned there's going to
Good
be
tip.
choices that have to be made. And, for a 5 hour park operating day, it's very difficult to justify, coming all the way from Michigan. But with that being said, if you want to come the first day and you see Tinkers, you see the tree lighting, you see Cool Yule, and so on, and you get to have the real experience. And then the second day, that's when you can ice skate and you can decorate cookies and maybe just enjoy the displays more and see some of the secondary shows like maybe Sounds of the Nativity or Charlie Brown's Guide to Christmas and stuff like that. Because I think that if you're going to drive down, you want to do everything, you know. So that's what I would recommend. I wouldn't limit myself to one day, but Winterfest is fantastic. We've mentioned several times in the show that is our just our really our favorite time of year at the park. So hope to see you there. All right. I'm Ryan Sir, along with Don Helbig. This is Tower Topics.